Okay folks, MBS here. I'm getting underneath this Hilux to do this rear transfer case seal now that we discovered when we were doing the fluid changes, and it's a little bit suspicious, so I'm going to show you why I'm thinking it's not actually the seal. Well, now that I'm down here having a bit of a closer look at this rear seal job, I'm not so sure it's actually all coming from that rear seal, because this spray pattern here on the tunnel is matching more closely to the end of the flange where it meets the tail shaft. So I think the oil is actually coming out of the inside of the flange and coming out of the uni-joint flange. Anyway, we'll soon see. Alright, to get these nuts off, you need to, if you've got a limited slip diff, both wheels have to be off the ground, handbrake off. If you haven't got a limited slip diff, just take one wheel off the ground, then you can still spin this around. Alright, and the old trick once again, put your spanner on here, let it go up and hit the floor, and make sure it doesn't bend. Put your spanner on, and undo it. And you can just do that for all of them, or if you're strong enough you can just do it by hand, putting two spanners on. You, I don't have that strength anymore, so I'm actually going to use the lever bar like that. Oh, I think I'll put the shorter one on there and grab the long one, and I'll bend that round a bit more so I've got access here. Right. Okay, now we're not taking the centre bearing out or taking the whole shaft out. We're just going to separate this, and we're going to tie this up somewhere out of our way so we can get to the flange. We'll work that out in a minute when we get all this apart. Yeah, it's all wet in there. So the oil's, I think the oil's coming out of here, and you can see there that you have to use sealant on that nut. So I'd say that sealant has broken down and allowing oil to come up between the splines on that flange. So we want to put this somewhere out of the way. I think up there or something like that. I'll tie it off to the lines up there, I think, and that'll be out of our way up there. Now we've got that tied up out of the way. You can see that this nut has been bashed in to a keyway sort of thing on the output shaft. Basically stops that nut from coming loose. Now I got a specially modified chisel that I made years and years and years ago specifically to do this one job. Not quite sharp on the point. What we do is put that in there and bash it and try and get that back out again so we can get that nut off without damaging anything. And there you go. And that just pushes it out with the taper on that little chisel. And that now should come off. 30mm socket. Okay, now for you guys that haven't got rattle guns, the easy fix to get this off, and I tell you what, these can be tight sometimes. Use a couple of bolts. Now don't use the bolts for the tail shaft, I'm just going to do this as a demonstration. You put two bolts in there like so. You get this, a lever arm underneath that one, a lever arm underneath that one, and when you go to undo it, this will lock that flange up against the body, and then you'll be able to put some force on that to undo the nut. Okay, that's what I'll be doing if the rattle gun actually not strong enough to do it. But I'm hoping it is, and because this is freewheeling, it's probably going to turn around on me. Let's give it a go. Oh, that wasn't tight at all, was it? Okay, there we go. And look at all the goop that's on there. So I'd say that's where she's leaking from. And there'll be a washer under there as well, stuck in there with all the goop, I would imagine. But we'll see if we can actually pull this off. There we go. And off she comes. So, that is where it is coming from, folks. Up that spline, up the inside, and out through here. And throwing oil out over everywhere. But we are still going to do that seal while we're here. Now look, I know some of you will say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's quite legitimate in a lot of cases. I don't think it was leaking in the first place, but I'm here. I've got the flange off. I'm not going to go through all this again when this does start to leak in 10, 20,000 kilometres, yeah? So let's replace it now. And we'll have to get all this goop off before we go and put the new flange on, yeah? Okay. Getting that seal out should be just a lever job. I think this is too big for the job, but hey, I'll give anything a go once. Let's see if it... Oh yeah, out she comes. Oh, I was not prepared for that. I didn't have my drain. All right, let's make sure that the seal we got is correct before, and I don't think it is. This doesn't look anything like the seal they gave me. So it looks like I'm going back to the spare parts joint and getting a seal. Oh, now cleanup for this is absolutely horrendous. That orange stuff was stuck like shit to a blanket, I tell you. All right, but we managed to get it off, the nut, the washer, the flange, and we got most of this off here, pretty well 99% of it. Wire brush helps along here. I got all the big stuff out with this little tiny screwdriver. It's a jeweler's screwdriver. I just ran it through the threads and picked out all the big bits, and then we finished off with a wire brush. So that worked out quite well. Now, final cleanup before we try and fit everything up is get some brake clean on a cloth, run it round the inside where the seal goes. Okay, and brake clean all this as well. Now I've made a unique little seal installer out of 2-inch PVC pipe so that it fits neatly on the seal to bash it in. Now this is a rubber seal, so you do not need to put sealant on the outside of it. I could probably push that in with my hands, but I shall use this little tool and a hammer. I hope I just don't put the hammer through the plastic cap, and we'll square it up and we'll see if we can get this on there. Now we've greased the inside of that seal, filled up the valley bit. Let's see if this will go on. We want to drive it in until it's about level. For a rubber seal, that was pretty tight to get in, so that's good. That should not leak around the outside. Okay, we have got that square. Okay, flange is all cleaned up. Inspect the seal area where that seal is going to rub on the flange. Make sure there's no big groove in there. If there's a big groove in there, you may have to have it either speedy sleeved or machined down, because the new seal probably won't seal properly. And here's an interesting thing for you. They gave me the wrong seal, yeah, so I went and got another one. This seal is actually out of an LN106 transfer case. So this has had a transfer case changed. So that's interesting for you guys. Make sure you've got the right transfer case, but you're not going to know till you go to buy a seal for it, yeah? Right, the stuff I'm going to be using for this job is Ultimate Grey RTV, JB Weld. All right, good stuff. They use this when in modern engines that actually don't use gaskets. They just put this stuff on, join the crankcase and engine block together, and it seals off with this. So it's very oil resistant. and we're going to put it in and fill up that void between the splines just like it did before, and just keep putting it in until it fills that void between all the splines. And then once that's full, we shall put a little bit on the washer. Okay, I reckon I've got that pretty well filled up. We'll get the washer and we shall put a bead around it. It doesn't matter if you go ballistic with this stuff, guys. It's only probably you that's going to be cleaning it off next time, or someone else. Alright, and that should do us. And if you really want to, you can give it another blast on the other side of the washer to be safe, but it's not going to get that far because you got too much down in the spline there, area for the oil to come out. Now I'm going to be doing this up a little bit tighter than what it was when it came off, and I reckon that may have been some of the problem. And you can see already that the collapsible bit is already passed, so yeah, but that's still too loose for my liking. Okay, so we need to now re-punch that with a punch and push it in, and that nut will not come off, and then we just have to fit the shaft back up. Righty-ho. Now you've noticed also I have surface finished that face on a piece of sandpaper just to smooth it off and make sure we get a clean contact with our tail shaft. And we'll bring him back into the picture. Give him a bit of a clean on the face because you don't want any crap on that face, to join them together, and put it back in the same spot that it was before, you know what I mean? Well, there you go, guys. It's not a hard job. The hardest part was getting all that old crappy orange shit off. Hello, but that grey stuff is going to be just as good to get off next time too. So I don't know who's going to be doing that job. I hope it's not me. Anyway, I'm not going to show you how to do bolt up. That seems a bit pointless. You can do them up exactly the same as you took them off if you have to. Use the two spanners, one up against the body, so you can put a fair bit of pressure on the nut when you tighten it up, and you're good to go. Drop your car down and off you go. Should have no more leaks. Check your transfer case level, because I'm going to have to do that because this was driven for 2 days after we did the oil change. So it may be just a fly shit down and it's all splattered up in there. It's probably where it's going. Okay, so don't forget to check that level, and don't forget to change your washer on the fill plug. All right, don't forget. It's very important. Okay guys, catch you in another video.